Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up. John 3 verse 14 is spoken by Jesus during his conversation with Nicodemus, a religious leader who came to him seeking truth. This verse connects the Old Testament with the New Testament and reveals the heart of God's plan for salvation. To understand this verse, we must first look at the story Jesus is referencing. In the book of Numbers, the Israelites were traveling through the wilderness after being freed from slavery in Egypt. They became impatient and complained against God and Moses. As a result, poisonous snakes entered the camp, and many people were bitten and began to die. The people cried out for mercy. God instructed Moses to make a bronze serpent and lift it up on a pole. Anyone who had been bitten only needed to look at the lifted serpent, and they would live. Healing did not come from effort, medicine, or strength, only from obedience and faith. When Jesus says, just as Moses lifted up the snake, he is pointing to this moment of divine mercy. Jesus then makes a powerful declaration. So the Son of Man must be lifted up. The phrase, lifted up, has a double meaning. It refers both to Jesus being lifted up on the cross and to him being exalted and glorified. Jesus is revealing that he himself would become the remedy for humanity's greatest problem, sin. Just as the Israelites were dying from snake venom, humanity is spiritually dying because of sin. Sin separates us from God, brings spiritual death, and leaves us helpless to save ourselves. But God, in his mercy, provided a way. Just as the Israelites only had to look at the bronze serpent, we are invited to look to Jesus, to believe in him, trust him, and receive life through him. This verse teaches us that salvation is not earned. It is received. The Israelites did not need to fight the snakes. They did not need to climb the pole. They simply needed to believe and look. In the same way, we are not saved by good works, religious status, or personal effort. We are saved by faith in Jesus Christ, who was lifted up on the cross for our sins. John 3 verse 14 prepares us for the very next verse, John 3 verse 16, which declares God's love for the world. Together, these verses show us that Jesus' sacrifice was not an accident, it was God's intentional plan to bring life, healing, and eternal hope. This verse also reminds us of the seriousness of sin and the greatness of grace. The cross shows both the cost of sin and the depth of God's love. Jesus became our substitute. He took our punishment. He was lifted up so we could be lifted from death to life.